Hi, my name is Chisina Kapungu, and I serve as Senior Gender and Youth Specialist for Youth Power Learning at the International Center for Research on Women. Positive youth development is a strength-based approach focused on building youth skills, assets, and competencies, fostering healthy relationships, and strengthening the enabling environment and transforming systems. Decades of work in high-income countries have found PYD to have an impact on multiple sector outcomes, including reducing violence, delaying sexual activity, increasing academic and soft skills, reducing substance use, and improving relationships. But less is known about PYD in low and middle-income countries. The Youth Power Learning conducted a systematic review of positive youth development programs to answer two questions. How have PYD approaches been implemented in low and middle-income countries, and what does the evidence say about their effectiveness? Because of time, I won't get into the methodology, but we reviewed peer-reviewed publications and gray literature, and criteria included projects that were focused with youth between the ages of 10 to 29 and included at least 2 PYD-related outcomes. This map shows the countries where at least one PYD intervention is taking place, and the blue is focused on countries where 5 or more PYD interventions are. China, South Africa, and India had an average of 9 programs in each country. In the systematic review, 108 studies were identified as meeting our criteria, and the majority of the studies were in the health sector, specifically sexual and reproductive health and HIV. Less than half of the studies provide evidence for the effectiveness of PYD programs using moderate or high-quality rigorous evaluation. Most of the programs identified in the systematic review did not self-identify as PYD, nor did they consistently measure PYD outcomes such as self-efficacy, higher order thinking skills, and interpersonal skills. So for PYD programs focused on SRH and HIV, what were the characteristics of programs that were found to be effective? First, they were based on theoretical approaches that had been demonstrated to influence health-related behaviors. They interviewed at multiple levels, including the family, school, and community and peer. They trained teachers, community members, or peer leaders to implement the programs and used interactive modalities such as video and role play. They provide accurate information about sexually transmitted infections and HIV and methods to prevent pregnancy and STI. They provide a variety of skill-building activities focused on communication, negotiation, and refusal skills, and address gender-related issues. So what was the emergent evidence? Well, PYD programs and health-focused programs have the strongest evidence because of the rigor of their evaluation. Most often they improved knowledge and attitudes. Boys and girls report higher self-efficacy to use condoms with their partners, often improved attitudes towards gender equality, and reduced sexual risk behaviors, such as reduced number of sexual partners, more youth using condoms consistently, or fewer youth having unprotected sex. Now, PYD programs within SRH and HIV also demonstrated impact across other sectors by demonstrating a reduction in child marriage, reduction in drug use, better mental health outcomes, girls with higher school status, and more youth with the ability to generate income. And the evidence for workforce readiness and employability lacked rigorous evidence, and studies often did not report evaluation outcomes. But those experimental studies did indicate that there were increases in formal and self-employment as well as quality of employment. There were increases in assets and earnings occurred, increases in savings, duration of employment, and work experience, and workforce readiness and employability programs also showed multiple impacts across sectors, such as decreases in the number of sexual partners, increase in contraceptive use, increases in knowledge related to HIV and pregnancy, decreases in child marriage, pregnancy, and unwanted sexual contact, and improved community gender norms. Now for democracy, human rights, and governance. Again, although overall there was a lack of rigorous evidence, experimental studies indicated that they emphasized youth contribution, or what is also called youth engagement. The HRG programs also improved political engagement, self-efficacy, and self-confidence, and we found positive outcomes on gender equity. So what are the gaps, and where do we go from here? Well, Youth Power Learning has developed a learning agenda with 5 themes. The first theme is to understand how PYD programs improve impact. Building off the systematic review, we identified the gaps, and we found that we need to understand the mechanism or the pathway that PYD impacts longer-term sectoral outcomes in low and middle-income countries. Our second theme is focused on cross-sectoral impact of PYD programs. We need to be more intentional in designing and evaluating cross-sectoral programs. We need to conduct more rigorous evaluation, especially because there's a lack of rigorous evidence in multiple sectors, and invest in promising approaches for cross-sectoral impact. PYD program is happening in many sectors, but most of it has not been rigorously evaluated. Our third theme is focused on measurement of PYD constructs. We need to measure PYD constructs more consistently. Little research is available on how PYD programs affect PYD outcomes, in contrast to sector-specific outcomes. Youth Power Learning has developed the PYD measurement toolkit, which provides resources and tools on how to measure positive youth development. We also need PYD programs, either universal or targeted programs, that are focused on vulnerable or marginalized populations. There were no programs in the systematic review focused on people with disability or LGBTQI, and we need to expand the evidence base on marginalized populations. Finally, our fifth theme is focused on youth engagement. We found that most programs did not engage youth in program design, implementation, and evaluation. We need to understand effective strategies for enabling meaningful youth engagement, as well as understand the best ways to measure and evaluate the effectiveness of youth engagement. The development of this learning agenda is designed to be the first of many steps toward better understanding when, how, and for whom PYD approaches work in low to middle income countries. And we hope that researchers and program implementers can contribute to help answer these important questions in order to improve youth outcomes. We also welcome you to look at our Learning Hub at www.youthpower.org, where you can find resources on PYD measurement, youth engagement, and more information on the systematic review findings. Thank you.